The other thing that has to be mentioned is the fact that Junaid might try to claim that he was unaware of anything that anyone could have said that could even remotely have been considered bad ever in their life when he was receiving these expensive gifts from people at his wedding. The thing about that is he only received these expensive gifts from people at his wedding due to him being able to sweet talk them and be able to socialize with them, just like how he admitted in 2024 that to people, calling them that he was very social. Well, the thing about it is, when you're a child and anyone says anything even remotely considered bad around you, and by the way, this is only saying and not doing, so it's not a crime to begin with. No one's threatening someone's car to be broken. No one's breaking the front under part of their car. No one's breaking their fire stick for their TV. No one's breaking their charging outlet while threatening to take out oil from their car and break their windshield and break their car with the Pep Boys commercial, only to stoke up fear inside of me so that I would be more willing to comply with Junaid's demands of scamming these girls whom I have no intention of marrying by sleeping with them and then passing them around to sex addicts like Junaid. No matter what any of law enforcement's BFFs like Uncle Joey could have said around me as a child, whom I only knew as a child, nothing that anyone could have said, first of all, could have been harming anyone, threatening anyone, committing vandalism against anyone's the front under part of their car, like how Junaid did after May 25th, breaking their personal belongings like how Junaid did after May 25th, to stroke up fear inside of me, to try to threaten and force them to comply with scamming other people's daughters who would be hearing court chatter on my brain savant being discussed with artificial intelligence and the court judges. Nothing of that sort, or criminal activity of scamming someone, defrauding someone's daughter living alone and who would be vulnerable only due to her hearing court chatter about someone's brain savant. Threatening someone by breaking the front under part of their car, like how Junaid did through law enforcement after May 25th, 2026, seeing that he had the police call on by my elementary school teacher, and so he saw that breaking my car to try to force me to comply with his demands of trying to scam people was the only option left, or threatening to take oil out of my car with a Jiffy Lube commercial, threatening to take oil out of my car, break my car with the Pep Boys commercial, and break my windshield with the Safe Light commercial, or slash my tires with the Slash Tires commercial, were all done while things of my personal belongings like my fire stick and my charging outlets were broken, to try to make the point clear to me that if I did not comply with his demands of trying to scam other people's daughters and other women out there, then he was very willing to easily take out oil from my car and break my windshield, take out oil from my car, break my car with the Pep Boys commercial, or slash my tires, as the first video, the two videos previous to this one, clearly showed in the starting, only to put fear into me by breaking my fire stick and breaking my charging outlet while putting these threats on my TV, YouTube, only to try to force me, only the last 2 months of June and July 2026, to try to force me to comply with his demands of going over and scamming other people's vulnerable daughters living alone, hearing about court chatter on my brain savant, to go sleep with them, scam them, despite me knowing very well that I'm not willing to marry any of these girls who are just being scammed by me, using court chatter on my brain savant being discussed with the honorable judges of this court. Junaid wants me to go and scam these people's daughters, and he is trying to force this demand on me due to his sex addiction and inability to cope with the time being passed with his sex addiction, and these women rejecting him and their sons who are only 2 years younger than me, calling the police on him around May 25th, 2026, by first breaking my the front under part of my car using law enforcement after May 25th, 2026, followed by putting threats on my YouTube of breaking my windshield, taking oil out of my car, slashing my tires, and breaking my car with the Pep Boys commercial, while breaking my fire stick and my charging outlet, to show me that he's very willing to break my car, if just like how he broke the front under of just like how he he broke my Fire Stick completely and my charging outlet completely. He's very willing to break my car and do all these things like take oil out, break my windshield, slash my tires, and break my car with the Pep Boys commercial, just like how he did actually break it after May 25th, 2026, after getting rejected by my elementary school teacher. Clearly showing by breaking my Fire Stick and my charging outlet and breaking the front under part of my car to show that if I did not comply with his demands of first going over and sleeping with these women that are hearing about my brain savant being discussed with the honorable judges of this court, and then passing them around to sex addicts like Junaid, that he was very willing to take oil out of my car, break my windshield, slash my tires, break my car with the Pep Boys commercial, only because his CEO story got found out to be a complete total lie, a scam, and a fraud, where he's only earning the same amount as my sister earns, working the same job my sister works. The only difference is he gets into fights with people at his workplace every single day, due to which he loses his job every single year and almost gets an early retirement every year, with this year being a confirmed case, and him even calling the girls and telling them this as soon as they found out that his CEO story was a complete total lie, only to decrease the chances of them running away from him so that he could tell this story in his own way. These things that Junaid did, of breaking the front under part of my car, breaking my Fire Stick and my charging outlet, while putting these threats on my TV, only after he had the police call on by my elementary school teacher's son, who's only about 2 years younger than me, and after having the police call on him by all the girls that he was running after, who found out that his CEO story was a complete total lie, and that and that he was only enviously running after them out of extreme envy of finding out that these girls were coming after me, and unable to run after them, he makes up a story about himself, only for the girls to then find out, and that everyone calling the police on him one after the other. These threats that Junaid sent me, that are shown in the first video, 2 videos prior to this one, will clearly prove from the starting of that video that what Junaid is doing is a complete and total crime. Not only is he threatening to take oil out of my car, break my windshield, break my car, to slash my tires, but that at the same time he is committing these acts by breaking the front under part of my car after like how he did after May 25th, 2026, breaking my Fire Stick, breaking my charging outlet, only in the last 2 months of June and July 2026, only to put fear into me, so that I would comply with his demands of first going around sleeping with these women and then passing them around people's vulnerable daughters living alone, giving them false hope of me marrying them, when in fact I know for a fact I can't marry 50 people, and only to scam them and then pass them around to people like Junaid. This is exact textbook definition of what illegal activities constitute as being. What Uncle Joey, law enforcement's BFFs like Uncle Joey could have said around me when I was a child, which would only be law enforcement's BFFs since 2001 till this very day today, where law enforcement is still running sex games with Uncle Joey's in-laws and our BFFs with Uncle Joey, would not constitute a crime. No matter what Uncle Joey could have said around me or how he could have said it, it would still not constitute a crime, since no one was harmed, no one was hurt, no one was threatened, no vandalism was committed, no one's personal belongings were broken completely, while they were threatened with more things being done, like taking oil out of their car, slashing their tires, breaking their windshield, breaking their car, only to force them to comply with the sex addicts' demands of sleeping with people's vulnerable daughters living alone, and then passing them around to sex addicts like Junaid. Only 2 months ago, not 2 months ago, within the last 2 months, the last time it occurring only about 3 days ago, within the entire last 2 months, almost every other day, as you saw in the starting of 2 videos prior, in the starting of that video prior, with the last time he tried to force me to do this only on August 3rd, 2026, which is only about 2 days ago. So the entire 2 months, June 2026, July 2026, he was doing this. This constitutes a crime where vandalism is committed, person is threatened, their car is broken, and then their Fire Stick and their charging outlet is broken while they're being given threats of taking oil out of their car, breaking their windshield, breaking the front of their car with the Pep Boys commercial, and doing all of these things, like slashing their tires, all these threats being given to the person if they do not comply comply with the demands of sleeping with these women and girls and then passing them around to sex addicts like Junaid. This is a crime. It's vandalism. It's threatening someone. It's blackmail. These are constitute as crimes that Junaid committed within the last 2 months, as in literally almost every other day for the month of June 2026 and July 2026, almost every other day, with absolutely zero excuses for committing it. If my sister ever pays for my cell phone bill, it's only from her own house budget that she does so, and she only does so due to them not wanting to pay me for gas money every single time I pick and drop my mother off or pick and drop her kids off from school and back to their houses when she has to go to work or anything of that sort of nature. Or the $30 that my sister used to pay for my car insurance last year was only due to this work that I used to do for her, and she didn't want to take out money from her own house budget that she used to earn for herself by paying me for gas each and every time I picked and dropped her kids off, took care of them, or to pick them and drop them off from school, or took care of her kids while she went to work. This was from her own house budget, from her own money that she earned with the deal that we made, due to which she did not want to pay for my gas each and every single time that she did this. There is absolutely no excuse for committing this vandalism, breaking persons' things like my fire stick and my charging outlet, while I'm being threatened to have oil taken out of my car, windshield broken, my car broken, and all these threats I'm receiving. While I'm receiving these threats, being blackmailed all day, night long to go and sleep with people's vulnerable daughters, hearing about court chatter, and then a woman that are refusing Junaid and asking about me. This is no reason. There's no excuse for threatening these things after breaking the front under part of my car. Absolutely none whatsoever. And this is what constitutes as being a crime. What Uncle Joey, law enforcement's BFF since 2001 till this very day today, whom I've not met since I was a child, and my conversation with my mother from Russia will clearly show that my mother took me out from being anywhere near Uncle Joey when I was a child, and she found out that Uncle Joey's, she read Uncle Joey's online chat, and she took me out, and never again did I see Uncle Joey ever again since I was a child, and that online chat with Uncle Joey was found with my mother. Never again did I ever see Uncle Joey ever again in my life, despite law enforcement trying multiple times in my life to run the same sex scheme ad that Junaid was trying to run with law enforcement coming in front and behind my car cameras after learning the exact time to come out of his house to come in my car cameras, acting like an autistic person, which he's not. This is something that Uncle Joey and law enforcement try to force me to do for them, that I refuse each and every single time they tried so after I was a child and taken out of every setting. Well, basically, Uncle Joey, I was taken out of the setting beforehand, and my conversation with my mother would let you know exactly why. Uncle Joey was caught with an online chat, due to which Uncle Joey, I was never allowed to supervise me ever again after a certain point. Whereas the thing about it is, when Uncle Joey was adult supervising me as a child, the things that, and this is, by the way, proven from my conversation with my mother from Russia, but when Uncle Joey was adult supervising me as a child, the facts and evidences will show my mother was never around due to her working at fast food restaurants in the afternoon time or in factories at night. And the facts and evidences will also show that they're not letting me talk right now because they know what I'm saying is the truth. The facts and evidences will also show that anything that Uncle Joey could have said around me as a child would not constitute a crime. It would not commit vandalism against someone, threaten them, break their personal belongings while sending them threats to take all out of their car and break their windshield or to slash their tires or do anything of that sort of nature, only to try to force them into complying with their sexual demands of sleeping with vulnerable people's daughters, living alone, hearing about court chatter on my brain savant, or woman that these people want to sleep with, it would not constitute a crime in the one bit. Nothing that Uncle Joey, law enforcement's own BFF, could have said would have committed vandalism against someone, harmed anyone in any way, shape, or form, threatened anyone, done one bit of harm to anyone in any way, shape, or form possible. These things have to be considered. Never have I ever committed any sort of a crime or done anything of that certain nature. The other thing that has to be looked on is the fact that law enforcement's other BFF, Ibrahim, goes over and he basically funnels money for drug cartels that are in South America by meeting their dealers and buying crystal methamphetamine from them, which is a crime, and he's funneling violence, something I have never done, never funneled any sort of violence against any individual ever in my life. And the fact of the matter is that Ibrahim would have to text these people, call these people, thereby being in communication with people that are selling drugs, being in communication with people that are at the last chain of command for the violence that is occurring in South America, that people like Ibrahim the Greedy Framer, due to his sex addiction problem, are basically funneling. He's in direct communication with the last chain of command for the people that are committing this violence in South America, that are making the crystal methamphetamine that I can guarantee the courts could not be possible without scientists. Okay, this crystal methamphetamine cannot be made by someone making it in their basement. Okay, this is definitely made by scientists, where the person is literally overdosing on a stimulant every single week, which is literally impossible considering the fact that even a little bit of potencies would cause such a high heart rate that it's literally impossible for someone to do so, clearly showing that these drugs cause extreme amounts of euphoria and are made by scientists and not just some guy making it in his basement. Ibrahim is in direct communication with these cartels that are committing these acts of violence in South America, whereas I have never even remotely been in communication with anyone in the world committing any kind of violence, never even been on any kind of a website for anyone who committed any kind of a violence, or any kind of a group that would commit any kind of a violence, been in any communication with anyone at their last chain of command, like a drug cartel, a drug seller, or selling drugs on the side of the street, like how Ibrahim the Greedy Framer was doing. So these people are bigger criminals, committing crimes right now as we speak. Junaid with his threats, and Ibrahim with his drug addiction problem and his bad habits like sex addiction problems. These people are committing crimes right now as we speak. So if Junaid tries to use the excuse that he was unaware of the person giving him gifts to have said anything even remotely considered bad around him, the fact of the matter is, even me as a child was not aware of my surroundings, which is why the law does not hold children liable for anything even remotely considered bad said around them as a child. And the facts and evidences will also show that it was only due to the force and necessity of a single mother, since my mother would never be around in a setting where anything remotely considered bad could have been said around me ever as a child. And the moment I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child, I was never seen in any settings where anything even remotely considered bad was ever said around me ever again. Clearly showing from facts and evidences that my mother fulfilled her promises. And if any one of law enforcement's BFFs ever did see me ever again after adult supervising me as a child, let's say they did, they would never say anything remotely considered bad around me ever again, due to the fact that it was no longer due to the force and necessity of a single mother leaving her child behind at their house, but due to their own free will, which would mean that if they would say anything even remotely considered bad around me after I was no longer a child, then I could have reported it, due to which they would never do so ever again. It's a totally different setting where someone you're babysitting or adult supervising as a child, and in your own house, and you say something even remotely considered bad around them, is a completely different scenario as compared to someone that you see at some place afterwards, when it's not due to their single mother's force force and necessity that they're in your setting around you anymore. They are no longer a child. They have mental insight now. They can report you not being due to their the force and necessity of their single mother anymore. So the same law applies to me as it does to Junaid. Junaid received gifts from people, never cared about it. He might claim that he didn't know that they could have said anything remotely considered bad, but me as a child did not know anything about my settings either, since children are not aware of their settings, and if I repeated anything, it would only be due to the immaturity of a child, whereas after I gained even the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child, I was never even remotely seen in a setting where anything you remotely considered bad could have been said around me, as my mother had promised law enforcement she would do when I was an 11-year-old child, doing it the first moment she could do so when I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child, not due to us being tipped off, since we never even whispered to each other about being tipped off in any way, shape, or form, but instead the facts and evidences will show that law enforcement tipped Uncle Joey's in-laws off in the year 2001. Not because anyone told me it was 2001. You had to look at how they were running their sex scheme in November 2023. And law enforcement tipped off other people that they ran money fraud with for years and years before the money fraud was stopped only about 2 months ago. So my mother fulfilled the promise that she made to law enforcement when I was an 11-year-old child. The moment I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity, law enforcement, on the other hand, never fulfilled the promise that they made to their country, still being run with sex schemes with Uncle Joey's in-laws and money fraud, which literally only stopped 2 months ago. It's no secret that it will start once again, and this time it's going to start with the same unemployment disability fraud that law enforcement was running before. Right now, the same bad habits are continuing with sex addiction, the same sex addiction, that problem that law enforcement has had with Uncle Joey for years, where after I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity, was never seen around Uncle Joey. Law enforcement harassed me all day, night long, while putting Uncle Joey from Full House on my YouTube, telling me to talk to him on the phone, which I refused, telling me to go meet with him at a wedding, which I refused, trying to get Uncle Joey to come near me, to make a video of him around me so that they could run the sex scheme ad with me, so that he could be advertised with different women only because law enforcement were receiving sex from Uncle Joey's in-laws. That same behavior is ironically being repeated with Junaid, who is now quoting Uncle Joey to try to exaggerate claims against me. Junaid is using the exact same law enforcement team to commit the exact same behavior on days like July 10th, 2026, where Junaid is coming in front and behind my car cameras after taking instruction from law enforcement for the exact moment he should do so, doing the exact same thing that Uncle Joey was trying to do for years around me, that I refused each and every single time, making it the last time I met Uncle Joey when I was a child and my mother took me out of that setting, just like how she said when my phone conversation from Russia, as soon as she saw his online chat, never again, as the facts and evidences will show, did I ever meet Uncle Joey ever again, despite law enforcement harassing me all day, night long for me to go and do so. The irony of this situation and setting is the fact that Junaid, who wants to quote Uncle Joey to try to exaggerate claims against me, is BFFs with the same law enforcement team that Uncle Joey's BFFs with. Junaid is committing the same exact act that Uncle Joey tries to commit with this same law enforcement team. Both Junaid and Uncle Joey have the same exact sex addiction problem. Both Junaid and Uncle Joey use law enforcement to fulfill this sex addiction problem in the exact same way of trying to advertise themselves in front of me and behind me, what Uncle Joey trying multiple times, and him boiling with anger after the November 2023 funeral, running back to Michigan and having a foreign statesman literally quoting him, seeing the amount of anger that law enforcement and Uncle Joey had against me for me not helping them with their sex scheme ad. That same exact behavior is seen repeated with Junaid, who, like, ironically likes quoting Uncle Joey and anything he could have said around me as a child. That same exact behavior is seen with Junaid on July 10th at around 8 p.m. July 10th last month around 8 p.m., where Junaid is doing the exact same thing Uncle Joey's been trying to do for years with the same law enforcement team, where Junaid takes instructions from law enforcement to come out of his house at the exact moment that he could come out to advertise himself in my car camera, doing the exact same thing that Uncle Joey's been trying to do with me for years, using these exact same law enforcement team, clearly showing from facts and evidences that both Junaid and Uncle Joey are both BFFs of the same law enforcement team, despite me never even meeting Uncle Joey since I was a child, as the facts and evidences show. And yet Junaid wants to quote Uncle Joey to try to exaggerate claims against me when I was a child, and my mother had already taken permission from law enforcement for me to be present there, and nothing that he could have said would have harmed anyone, committed vandalism against anyone, threatened anyone, forced them to comply with his demands of his sex addiction problem, of trying to scam other people's vulnerable daughters, or do anything that would harm anyone in the least bit possible, or threaten anyone in any way, shape, or form, commit vandalism against anyone in any way, shape, or form. And yet Junaid is quoting that same Uncle Joey to try to exaggerate claims against me, only because all their false testimonies have all been caught, and this is the only thing left for Junaid to enviously try to lock up my brain savant so that he could enviously try to run after these girls. And yet Junaid is quoting that same Uncle Joey while at the same time committing the exact same act that Uncle Joey likes to commit with law enforcement, the same exact law enforcement team that both Uncle Joey and Junaid have are mutual BFFs with, to come in front and behind my car cameras on the night of July 10th at around 8 p.m., clearly showing from facts and evidences that Junaid is only using this talking point against me right now, and the fact that they're trying to claim the excuse that he was not aware that anyone could have said anything remotely considered bad in his wedding after he was done sweet talking everyone so that they would give him expensive gifts is not a legitimate excuse, since it was the exact same thing as me as a child not knowing what was going on around my settings, since even the law claims that children are not held liable under law because they're not aware of their surroundings. They're not mentally mature enough to be held liable for anything they repeat with their mouths, and anything that anyone could have said around them, like Uncle Joey, law enforcement's own BFS for decades, could, especially when that thing that they could have said is not constituting as a crime in the least bit, not committing vandalism against anyone, not damaging anyone's car, not breaking their personal belongings, while threatening to take oil out of their car windshield, breaking it, slashing their tires, or do anything of that sort of nature if the person does not comply with their sex addiction problem of scamming other people's vulnerable daughters into sleeping with them and then passing them around to sex addicts like your dad, especially when that thing that Uncle Joey could have said around me as a child while adult supervising me after my mother had taken permission from law enforcement when I was an 11-year-old child does not constitute a crime in the least bit. It would not harm anyone, commit vandalism against anyone, threaten anyone in any way, shape, or form possible. And the other thing you have to be looking at is the fact that after I gained a slight bit of mental maturity as a child, never did me and my mother ever whisper anything claiming that we were tipped off by law enforcement, clearly showing from facts and evidences that we were not tipped off by law enforcement at all, not one bit, but that law enforcement facts and evidences show we're tipping everyone off like Uncle Joey since 2001 and other people that they ran money fraud with for years and years till only about 2 months ago. It clearly showing from facts and evidences that me and my mother have absolutely no intent of harming anyone, committing vandalism against anyone, threatening anyone, taking oil out of anyone's car and breaking anyone's car, or harming anyone in any way, shape, or form possible, since the moment my mother fulfilled her promise, the moment I became even slightly mentally mature as a child, I've never, my mother has never let me even remotely be present in a setting where anything remotely considered bad could have been said around me ever again for decades of my life, and never showing anything that would ever say that my mother had any intent of harming or wanting to harm anyone in any way, shape, or form possible throughout her entire life. Despite my mother being watched 24/7 since I was an 11-year-old child, never saying anything that would ever say that she or I wish any kind of harm on anyone in any way, shape, or form possible, clearly showing that from facts and evidences. Obviously, law enforcement is going to try to distort this fact after finding absolutely nothing by trying to make my mother look like she's low IQ or dumb or stupid, when in fact the facts and evidences also show that my mother worked at fast food restaurants to help raise me throughout my entire life. Not only that, she worked at Food Line grocery stores to help pay for my overseas pharmacy school while I was sleeping on the side of the streets and running on 2 sandwiches and packed ramen noodles, clearly showing from facts and evidences that she's neither dumb or stupid or low IQ, but that she's worked really hard to help raise me and pay for my school. Clearly showing from facts and evidences that law enforcement is only making this claim to try to distort the facts due to finding absolutely not one instance of my mother ever even remotely saying anything bad about anyone in any way, shape, or form. In fact, if I would, not only did she never say anything bad about anyone of any other race, religion, or ethnicity, she only says the best things about everyone in any way, shape, or form possible, to the point that if I would ask her about having a wife that would be of a different religion, such as Jewish or another religion, she would have such a great answer to give me at the mall that I would literally wish that I had only asked her this at home. Not only this, there was a brain scanner attached to my brain for years, clearly showing and proving from facts and evidences that I would meet people of a Jewish faith with long beards that were Orthodox Jewish people, Christian people, every single faith, religion possible. I would meet them with the same level of love and respect that I would meet everyone else, with the same level of kindness and respect and love, so to the point that if they would give me advice on things that I should take to help beat the cold, like zinc or something else, I would take that advice to heart, and I would tell it to other people as well, with a brain scanner attached to my brain, proving that I loved and respected each and every single one of these people, that whether they were Orthodox, Jewish, or Christians, or anything of that sort of nature, for years before law enforcement themselves told me that there was a brain scanner, only due to their sex addiction problem and wanting me to run after these girls starting July 1st, 2023. Clearly proven from facts and evidences that my mother raised me to be the exact same kind of person she is. The facts and evidences show since day one of me being an 11-year-old child, and her never even remotely saying anything remotely considered bad or against anyone of any race, religion, ethnicity, and me, despite not being low IQ, dumb, stupid, or anything of that sort of nature, only doing it because she's a good person. Clearly showing from facts and evidence of her working all day and night long at fast food restaurants or at factories when I was a child, or at a Food Line grocery store to help pay for my overseas school, while I was literally running on 2 sandwiches, a pack of ramen noodles for months, or sleeping on the side of the streets to earn my overseas pharmacy degree, while giving all 108 exams needed in order to get that degree done and bring it back home to my mother. So yeah, there you go. So Junaid cannot claim the excuse that he was not aware that someone that gave him expensive gifts at his wedding said anything remotely considered bad in their life, when he's claiming that when me as a child cannot know of my surroundings, which is or anything good or bad, since I have not experienced anything other than what I'm being forced to experience as a child yet, and my mother is not around me as she had told law enforcement. They're not letting me talk. As she told law enforcement when I was an 11-year-old child, she was not around me, showing from facts and evidences that that she was telling the truth, that she had to get me adult supervised only because she had to go to work, due to which she had to leave me behind with law enforcement's own BFFs like Uncle Joey, since that law enforcement's been running sex scenes with since 2001. And so as a child, I cannot know good or bad behavior, good or bad settings, or good or bad things that anyone could have said, since as a child, I have not experienced good or bad settings yet in life. And yet, as soon as I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child, I was never seen in any setting even remotely considered bad around me ever again, only due to my mother fulfilling her promise that she made to law enforcement when I was an 11-year-old child, for good and forever, thereby seeing from facts and evidences that I was in only good settings after that point in my life, due to that force and necessity of a single mother ending. And when I was a child, there was nothing I could have done, so due to the force and necessity or poverty of a single mother working at fast food restaurants. I like how when I was adult, I had a problem in school where I didn't have any food, and my mother was always afraid, like she would be like, how are you gonna get by? And I just told her, I was like, look, I'll take care of it. And what I ended up doing was I started tutoring someone, and I told that person, you're not gonna pay me money, you're gonna give me food. And we were just like, all right, fine, that's fine. And I came back home and I told my mother, I took care of it, don't worry about it, I took care of it. But as a child, when my mother mother's force and necessity is there, as she explained to law enforcement when I was an 11-year-old child. There's absolutely nothing I could do. I'm not going to go earn money and bring it back to my mother and be like, take this money, put me in a daycare or something. It was due to the force and necessity of a single mother. She was not running sex scenes with Uncle Joey, so in-laws like law enforcement were, or money fraud with God knows whom, and for how much money that law enforcement has been running for years and years. She was only putting me there due to the force and necessity of a single mother, as she explained to law enforcement when I was an 11-year-old child, and only until I gained a situs bit of mental maturity. Never again throughout my entire life after I gained a situs bit of mental maturity, just as it was promised to law enforcement when I was an 11-year-old child. So these points are being proven by facts and evidences. Thank you.